market is one of the top three markets for fertilizers in the world, right? So it's one of the most important ones, and where we are present and where agriculture plays a very important role. So we have more than 160 million hectares when it comes to agriculture in India. So in order to produce food in this area, it's very important to have a good crop nutrition program. Hence, that's why India is so big when it comes to the consumer of fertilizers. And I think that what we see for the future is that this market is going to be even evolving and growing even more, because a biggest majority of the population in India, you know that better than me, but at least 60% of people, they are involved with agriculture. There is some sort of activity, and this is extremely important for the GDP of the country. So this is on one hand what we see. And of course, when in terms of growing this market for the future, there's going to be some sort of differences in terms of the different segments that we see. When we look at cereal crops or broad acreage crops, let's put like that, the growth is going to be there, but where do we expect the growth to come more strongly is from the horticulture, the fruits, vegetables segment. And why is that? Because we have been seeing a lot of very good effects on getting the farmers to have a very good profitability, and the improvement on the quality of the food that is produced is extremely relevant as well. So what we see moving forward is the market for fertilizers in India is still going to grow, maybe a little bit more when it comes to the more special products, when it comes to fertigation. And also what we see is a need for optimizing the nutrition in terms of this more broad acreage crops, because we have to address the yield, right? We need to ensure that the yield that we have is the more optimum possible. But at the same time, we have to do this in a way that the farmers, they get the return on investment, but we do this with the lower environmental footprint that we can. So our predictions for the future of fertilizer market and the agriculture market in India, they're very good. I think that we can trust that this growth is coming. It's about really deep diving on understanding your customers, right? So being farmer centric means embracing the concept that one size does not fit all normally, but when it comes to agriculture, this is even more true, right? So I think that having in mind that the situations are going to be varying depending on the geography that you are, depending on the technology level, depending on the share of wallet that the farmer has to invest is critical. And also helping the farmers to understand that this is a journey, right? So helping them on the step-by-step change is much more important than just trying to turn the key at once, because this is going to be what is going to be ensuring the sustainable change and evolution for the food systems. So being farmer-centric for us means understanding the reality of the farmers and understanding what can we do in a pragmatic way, but also very concretely to help them to succeed, while we are not, losing the sight about the future. How do you step by step go and make the change sticking for us to really achieve not only the food security part, but also, as I said, doing this in the best way we can in terms of the impact that we have in the planet. I think that's, again, for me, the most innovative product alone is never going to do the trick if you don't have the knowledge application. That's why I started with knowledge. For me, it's all about knowledge investment per hectare. The higher this investment is, the better it's going to be. But of course, in terms of products, what we have is when it comes to nitrogen, as an example, of course, we know that the biggest crop we have in India is paddy rice. Considering this specific situation, using a nitrate-based solution, which is extremely efficient, would not be possible because you would run into a situation where you can have a lot of nitrous oxide emission, for instance. But on the other hand, for other crops where you don't have this environment of the water filling all the spaces of the soil, nitrate-based solutions can be a huge breakthrough in order to support the farmers to get more efficiency on the nutrients that they are applying. When it comes to this more balanced crop nutrition concept, there are the results that we are getting, for instance, from micronutrients, biostimulants. So if you take crop nutrition as our own nutrition as human beings, it's about not only getting the staple food, right, the potato, the quantity, but also the seasoning. So it's equally important for the farmers to work with this, basic products, the NPKs. And as I said, there are very good options in terms of nitrate-based solutions, more efficient. And on top of that, working with micronutrients are going to be helping the crop to cope better, to have this balanced approach. And biostimulants, on the other hand, they are going to be helping the crops also to cope with the stresses, especially the ones related to climate, drought stresses, heat stresses. So when we put together the knowledge, how to use the technology and the products that are out there with a very good portfolio and with decision making support systems, then you can really get this kind of breakthrough innovation, and then you can see the results in the real world. So yeah, I'm quite excited about that. And for me, in terms of innovation, what we can see for the future is even more and more focused on helping the plants, as I said, not only producing the highest yield per hectare to really achieve the genetic potential, but doing this in a way that the farmers can get exactly the quality traits that they need, but helping the crops also to cope with the issues that the climate is going to be presenting. Actually, the R&D organization is part of what we do in the Global Innovation today. And actually, we have mainly 4 topics that we are really dedicating time, and where we have more than 120 colleagues, PhDs, working to come up with new solutions. So on one hand, we work pretty much focused on the crop system perspective. What is what are the main pain points that we have in terms of a specific crop, depending on the geography? How do we integrate the whole producing factors together? Because, for instance, maize, corn is one crop, but if it's being grown in India, and depending on the part in the part of India that we're talking about, depending on the genetic, the seeds that we are using, this is going to be kind of driving a different recommendation. So we work, with this holistic view when it comes to the crop, what the crop needs, and what can we do in order to improve yield, quality, and environmental footprint from the crop perspective. So for the second pillar, we work pretty much on the agronomic tools and recommendations. So how do you use, for instance, satellites, sensors, all the remote sensing technology to help you to figure out the best moment to apply the nutrients and also the right quantity to be applied. So we have been using a lot of all the imagery, satellites, as I said, and sensors, not only to check on the crops, but also in the soil and in the environmental conditions to make the better decisions. This is the second pillar, but then we have also a pillar where we are using data to create models to predict the future, right? How do you try to predict a situation before it happens? How do you help the farmers to cope with the situations that are upcoming? Or how do you predict, for instance, what is the ideal yield or quality, and how do you trace back how to influence that? So we have been investing a lot on agronomic analytics and modeling. We are working with artificial intelligence models, for instance, to teach some algorithms to come up with better recommendations to ensure that the output the farmers are having is exactly what they were expecting. And on the other hand, we also work with this very strong scouting on new fertilizer products in terms of understanding the role that microbials are going to have in crop nutrition for the future. How do you, instead of only applying more and more, how do you increase the efficiency? How do you also increase the soil health perspective, not only by managing crop nutrition well, because this is another point that is critical for us to understand. Crop nutrition and fertilizer is a way of addressing soil health. It can be a way of reducing soil health, but it's one of the key management practices that we can have to increase soil health, because organic matter depends also on the biomass that we produce. So those are, let's say, the four main pillars. And what is cutting across all the four pillars for us in R&D is, as I mentioned in the beginning, the sustainability parameters, right? How do you measure the impact on the natural resources of everything that you're doing? How do you mitigate the emissions of the products per hectare? How do you reduce the carbon footprint? Whereas you are also increasing the water footprint and improving the water footprint, and also improving the land use efficiency. So this is somehow cutting across the four pillars, but again, it's focusing on the holistic way on solutions for a crop perspective, innovative products, hardwares and remote sensing, and artificial intelligence and modeling. So those are the, let's say, the four main pillars we're working on in terms of R&D now. I think as I said in the beginning, for me, it's evolving with growth perspective in mind. For me, is much more, as I said, for the broad acreage crops, maybe optimization, but still we have an opportunity to increase volumes, because in terms of quantity applied, it can be a little bit more. But I think that we should definitely focus much more on the efficiency and the optimization part, and also on this more balanced crop nutrition approach, not only focus on one specific nutrient, but having this kind of complete approach to crop nutrition. But I do believe that the market is going to keep growing. But as I said, I also believe that the market for special products, such as fertigation, biostimulants, micronutrients, is going to be growing even in a faster pace. Now, if we look at some of the reports of the market, we see a compound annual growth for India around 2%, 3% on a year-on-year basis. But for special products, this is around 8%. So we see a trend of growth at general, but even stronger when it comes to special products that are linked back to horticulture, fruits and vegetables production.